You have offended my family, and you have offended the Shaolin Temple.
Simu Liu from the MCU.
In the ass end of space, even aliens watch Jason King on Kung Fu Hot Dog. Duke Nukem approves this guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in Cloud Cuckoo Land. And further proof of this is with this story from Bounding Into Comics. Honestly, when I read this, it's just a virtue signal piece. Not because of them, I think they write terrific articles. I'm talking about the star of SHANG-CHI, which is Simu Liu, and he's mad. He's really pissed off. Do you know why? Because if you go to a Comic-Con that he's going to be attending, he's not going to be signing any offensive books on the character he brought to life last year. I'm just warning you now. So you got a big stack of Shang-Chi comics from the 1970s created by Stan the Man Lee, because Stan was a big fan of Bruce Lee. Hey, old Shang-Chi himself, he's not going to sign anything. He's probably going to tell you something where to... You know what? I actually hope people do turn up and say, "Hey, Lou, you want to sign this for me, mate?" And and get it on film. That will be hilarious. So, Marvel's Shang-Chi has reportedly made it clear that he will not be signing any issues of Master of Kung Fu. The reason being because the main villain in it is Fu Manchu. Now, of course, if you go back to the Charlie Chan movies, the black and white films, Fu Manchu was the villain in those as well. And I guess people might have an issue with those. I remember watching them and I thought they're okay, And look, if you want to be really offensive, check out Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Mickey Rooney, a white dude playing a Chinese guy. I mean, part of me just wants to laugh at that, and part of me does. So there you go. So we got the stars, and then look, you know what? I've actually been to some of these signings before. Don't do it, people. Keep your cash. Go and buy some video games. Buy some comic books instead. There is no point forking over $70 or $170 just for maybe 1 minute of time, maybe less, where you stand with the person, you kind of do like a constipated pose, and then that's it. Next, please. It's a conveyor belt. I hate that. What I do prefer, say if you go into somewhere like Forbidden Planet in the UK, and Henry Cavill just happens to be standing there reading a comic, and you bump heads, and he talks to you, and then I'll say to him, "Henry, I'm like your biggest male simp. Can we have a picture together? Would that be cool?" I always say to anybody famous, "Is it cool for me to take a picture with you?" If they say no, fine. But most times they will say yes, because you've been polite and courteous, which is what we sometimes do in the UK. Not anymore with Generation Z growing up and their multiple pronouns. But that's what I would do personally. So this is where the expo is going to be. It is... Hang on a second. Right, I can't see where that is. Not that it's actually going to be worth even plugging, but I probably will. So this is the offensive comic, or one of the offensive comics. When comics used to be comics, folks. This is it. Son versus father. Which is kind of funny now because it's kind of the opposite in Hollywood now. It's like, let's have the son because we hate fathers. They suck. They don't. Day of the Golden Dagger. And that is Fu Manchu in the background. Without the... he has got the moustache. This is far from the first time following his casting as the deadly hand that Liu has taken an eye-rollingly performative action to position himself as a properly socially conscious champion for acceptable Asian representation. Has anybody heard of Jackie Chan? Has anybody heard of Bruce Lee? Has anybody heard of Michelle Yeoh? Sammo Hung? Has anybody heard of those people? I'm guessing everybody in the audience has put up their hands and says, "Yes, Jason, we have heard of them." So what is this fool talking about? Oh, and then of course, he was in Kim's Convenience. I've watched a few episodes of those, and they're pretty funny. I like the main guy in it. He's actually pretty funny, but Yeah, he says that. Now this is the thing. This is where it's the hand. You bite the hand that feeds you, and that's what he's clearly done here, where he says, "Well, the producers of the show of Kim's Convenience were overwhelmingly white." What's that got to do with anything? I worked at Planet Hollywood, and one of the best females I ever worked with was a Dutch manageress called Nicole. She was awesome. It wasn't a power trip for her. Me and her always got on well. We always, we never clashed. We never had loggerheads. She found my antics pretty funny. I found hers pretty funny. She's a cool chick. I never stood there and thought, Nicole from Holland, you're too white. I want you replaced immediately. This stupid, racist virtue signaling. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Wow. It was always my understanding that the lead actors were the stewards of character and would grow to have more creative insight as the show went on. First rule of Hollywood in entertainment: you are not bigger than the studio is bigger than you. So if you start talking shit like this, they'll get rid of you. Remember Joey Tribbiani in Friends when he thought his character Dr. Ramon was going to be this really huge big thing and he wanted to bring in his own rewrites to the script. What did they do to his character? They killed him off. Proof of the pudding. You're not bigger than the studio is always bigger than you. And of course he goes on to whine and moan about, the next seasons were mere days away before everything was to start shooting. There was deliberately not a lot of leeway given to us, he additionally accused. It's funny, he's had a successful run on Kim's Convenience. Later on, it's almost like he's been radicalized, brainwashed. By the way, look around you. Who do you see? It's a sea of white people. Oh no, what are we gonna do? Get out now. Horrible, absolutely horrible. You can just get on with people, and as long as they bring the goods to the table, regardless of what their creed or color is, we should all get along, okay? But I don't understand that. Yes, and I've heard this thing about him and Bob Chapek, and Chapek just ignored him, which I thought was hilarious. Yeah, he's not an historical figure. It's bullshit. China was so enthused with Shang-Chi, they refused to have it released, and they said Simu Liu was ugly. They're probably not wrong, actually. Yeah, there was that whole thing on Reddit as well, where he's been sympathetic towards people who like kids. Let's just call it that. That was a bit of a weird take. But this Comic-Con that he's going to... Oh, there's a source, awesomecon.com. It's going to be there if you're... it's the Awesome Con. Nothing awesome about Comic-Cons, folks, when you're meeting people in the flesh. It's never what you expect. Never meet your heroes. I've learned that lesson the hard way as well. Even though, ironically, some of them weren't heroes. I'd rather meet voice actors who do video games, who aren't seen in the public eye that much. And like John St. John, I would love to meet him, the guy behind Duke Nukem. He's done a few voiceovers for me. That guy's absolutely top notch. And comic book artists, I met a few of those, like John Romita Jr. What a great guy. I'd rather hang out with people like him, not idiot savants like Simu Liu from the MCU. Not the star of your own film, were you, mate? You got kicked in the nuts by your female co-star. Oh, wow. I haven't even had my coffee, folks. So if you think I'm enraged now, wait until later on. So if you enjoyed this video today, folks, you know what the drill already. Make sure you like, make sure you share, so I can get that extra added goodness of hours. And if I were you, I'll check me out on my next video.
Jason King on Kung Fu Hot Dog. Your face, your ass, what's the difference?